Hey, this is Jason with 4W Knives. I am taking on a 2-hour challenge. I am going to try to complete a full knife build within 2 hours. This is the shape we're shooting for. This was a challenge on the Walter Sorrells YouTube page, and also saw Martin Huber Knives attempted. So I'm going to give it a shot. We're doing stock removal, and I'm going to bring you along for the ride. So our time starts now. So in Walter Sorrells' video, he did stock removal, so I'm doing stock removal. Now the other video I watched, he did forging, which I think adds another twist to it. I may have to try that down the road. And I have to say up front, I was pretty confident coming into this challenge. I watched Walter's videos, I watched the other video, and I thought, man, it's a little more simple of a build. I'll be able to get this done with time to spare. I'm not going to give away the ending here, but let's just say I wasn't right to be so confident. I think we get a good product. I think it worked great. We had to adjust. I went the same format as Walter Sorrells did to get it in the allotted time. Running the camera did add a little bit of extra time to it, but overall this was a blast. It made me feel the pressure. I wouldn't have thought that I'd have been looking at the clock as much as what I did. It made it a little more interesting, kind of got me out of my little funk I've been in. All right, so we have it shaped, a little bit cleaned up, getting ready to do the pinholes. We are right at 1:46. So we are 15 minutes, an hour and 46. We are 15 minutes into the build. All right, so we got the 2 pinholes drilled, and then I put some weight reduction. This is pretty thick, 1095, so I wanted to still make sure it's a good knife, so it's gonna fit good in the hands. That took longer than I thought, about 10 minutes worth, closer to 8, so we are down to 1 hour and 37 minutes. And now we have to go to getting our bevels. That's next. All right, so when we start to do the bevels, I get an older 36 grit belt. It still had a little bit of life in it, but it was not new by any means. Knocked off the edge, put a little 45 on it, and then put a brand new 36 grit belt to hog off some material. All right, the belts that I'm using are from Combat Abrasive. These are shredder belts. I've used Red Label Abrasive, and I've used some others. They all work pretty close to the same. I do favor these shredder belts just a little bit. All right, got the rough grind in. Let me check my timer here, see where we're at. We are an hour and a half in. I've got the bevels ground, ready for heat treat. So that's going to be the next step. I will keep the timer running when I quench it. Like Walter Sorrells did, I will turn it off during the temper or pause it. That's the only thing I'm not counting, because I want this to be a high quality knife and I don't want it to be fragile. So heat treat next. Hopefully me pausing it during the temper cycle doesn't ruin this whole challenge for you as a viewer. But like I said, I wanted to make absolute sure that this thing was going to be a functional knife, and I didn't want to mess around with the temper. Perfect. We are at an hour and 22 minutes remaining, and I'm going to put it on pause until after the As I do my finish grinding, I thought I'd point out I started with an 80 grit belt and then moved to a 120, and then I went through a sequence of the Trizec belts. All right, so here where we're at on the finish grind. It's a little wet, so it looks streaky. Normally I'd go in and do my hand sanding, etch my knife, and do all of that. Since we're under the gun, we have 56 minutes remaining. So what I'm going to do is use a progression of conditioning belts. We're just gonna shoot for a satin finish. I spend probably more time hand sanding than I do anything else, so we're gonna cut that part out, and I still think it's going to come out looking really good. So anyways, that's where we're at, and we'll go ahead and fit handle and everything before we go in the house. The conditioning belts are pretty great, honestly. Now, a lot of people say that it cuts down on their hand sanding. Unless if you want the satin finish, it hasn't done that for me. I always have to remove big scratch marks even after I use them. I may be doing something wrong, but if I do Damascus, I don't use these. I will only do this on mono steel if I'm doing a satin finish. All right, so here we are with our satin finish. Now we have to go fit the handle scales, go in the house and glue them. I am using Texas T. It's some form of acrylic that I get from Jantz. So that's where we're at. That's where we're gonna get started. And there is 49 minutes left. I am feeling the crunch a little bit. So I rush into the house to etch my maker's mark and do the glue up. My wonderful wife was generous enough to do the filming of this. She actually even volunteered to come out and do some filming in the shop, but she said I had to clean it first. And you know me and my time availability, if I'm out here, I need to be spending it working on some knives. I ain't got time to do no cleaning. Preparing for this, I went into town and bought some 5-minute epoxy. I usually use a 2-ton epoxy. Just gives me more time to let it set up. So this is something different. It went together well, have no complaints. I still doubt I use it in the future because other than just hurrying for the clock, I felt like I was rushing to make sure I got it on here before it started to set up as well. But it holds it together like it's supposed to, so no complaints. All right, I am running out of time. So I am down to 8 minutes. I have got the handle sanded by the grinder. I don't think I'm gonna have time to hand sand the handle, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the cleanup here and then sharpen it. And I think I should be at least have a knife finished. I'm gonna get to it. I personally really like using this workshop this way. I know there are a lot of different alternatives, but it works for me. It seems like it gives me good control, and the belts change out really easily. Of course, you know, they're not paying for anything on this, but I'll give you my honest opinion. I like them. The only thing I don't like about the workshop is it seems like I have to replace the belts often, buy new belts often, and that gets a little bit old. The leather finishing belt or stropping belt is money. I buy these every time. I really like that. It puts a good final edge on this. Alright. So I'm calling it. There's 30 seconds. I have a knife that is shaped, sharpened. We're going to check to see how sharpened it is here in a minute. But I got a whole bunch of hand sanding, so I'm going to click done. And now let's see if I was able to at least get a sharpened knife in that time. This is a little bit of a hang up right in the middle, so didn't do it that time, so yeah, I'll need to sharpen a little bit more, so we'll say, yeah, it's pretty decent. But anyways, we're gonna say we have a sharpened knife. Oh yeah, it's shaven. Okay, sharpened knife in fairly rough shape. So I guess I kind of was successful on the challenge. I'll let you decide on that. But what I've got to do now is do a whole bunch of hand sanding. So I'm going to get the handle sanded up, and I'm going to show you guys some finished product. And like I said, the scales will be beautiful when it's done. So stick around to see it. Appreciate you watching. Don't leave. See this thing finished up. All right, here we are, all finished up. So it took me about 30 more minutes to hand sand and buff the handle, which I thought it turned out really good. I like that Texas T, it looks good. I did about another 5 minutes or so resharpening just to make sure I had a good edge all the way across. It was sharp before, but it did have one little spot that wasn't as sharp. So it is completed at this point. Feels really good. I will say one point I did not like, and I'd made the same mistake on a file knife video I did the other day. I needed to extend the handle another, what is that, maybe half an inch to look better. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe it was rushing, kind of being under the gun. I don't know, but not as happy with it as if I would have been if I would have extended that. I'll just have to be more cautious of it, but it feels great. It's sharp. For 2 hours, felt like I was under the gun. Had to hurry a little bit, but I think the knife itself did not suffer because of it. Of course, it is the satin finish, which saved me about 2 hours of hand sanding. So that is cheating a little bit, but hope you enjoyed the video, and give it a like and subscribe if you feel like it earned it. And other than that, have a great one.